Hello everyone, I am camped up in the foothills of the Wind River Mountains in western Wyoming. Yesterday was kind of a rest day for me and I'm ready to get back at it, so let's hop back in the car, head down the mountain and into the canyon. We are 10 minutes or so outside of the town of Lander in Sinks Canyon. We are at Sinks of the Poposia Visitor Center. And there's a very interesting and unique natural phenomenon we're going to take a look at here. So here again is the Middle Poposia River, or middle fork of the Poposia River. And this is called the Sinks. The river enters the ground here and then rises up a quarter-mile down canyon at a place called the Rise. So the Rise is over here, the Sinks is right here, and it takes a couple hours for the water to flow that quarter-mile. You can see some people there for scale. A really interesting and unique spot. Let's go take a closer look. Let's go join those people over at the cave area. And there goes the water, just disappearing right into the ground. That is wild. I wonder if any fish get trapped underground. Very interesting. So there's a quarter-mile long paved path that connects the Sinks to the Rise, but I think you could also just drive from one spot to the other, but figure it's early morning, it's a good chance for me to stretch my legs a little bit. Alright, so we are at the viewing platform for the Rise now, about 5 minutes, a 5-minute walk from the Sinks, and there are some giant fish down in there. Holy moly. I mean, those are 20, 24-inch fish easily, if not bigger. Looks like there are rainbow trout. Yeah, it looks to be mostly rainbow trout. Wow, that's nuts. But yeah, this is the spring where the water rises back up again, hence the name The Rise. Then it continues to flow on down the canyon. There's actually a trout feeding vending machine over here. I do not have any quarters on me. I do in the car. Maybe I'll go grab a quarter and come back. But it's interesting. You can feed the fish for 25 cents. It says rainbow and brown trout are the main species of wild trout present here. Okay, I'm back with some change. It says first push and pull. Whoa, okay. Let's go feed this to the giant fish down below. And there's a feeding frenzy. Just massive fish here. I'm only seeing rainbow trout here. I'm not seeing any brown trout. So here's a look at Main Street in Lander. It's an interesting mix of kind of a modern cowboy town mixed with a outdoor mecca. So it's kind of like a Boulder mixed with a Wild West town. You've got old movie theaters next to bakeries and cafes and fly shops and climbing shops, and right here is the Knowles headquarters, the National Outdoor Leadership School. So it's kind of an interesting mix here in town. I might stop by one of the bakeries and grab something here. I ended up getting one of the exploded breads, or exploding breads. It's bread, pesto, parmesan, and mozzarella. It was $5, so not exactly cheap, but looks pretty good. Yeah, it's delicious. It's really good. We are 20 or 30 minutes north of Lander now on the Wind River Indian Reservation. And we are at Sacajawea Cemetery. Sacagawea, of course, was the young Native American woman who was a guide for Lewis and Clark on their transcontinental journey. And she is buried here in this cemetery near Lander. Now, there is actually some controversy about whether this really is her grave, because apparently there's another grave that reported to be hers in the Dakotas somewhere. But yeah, this one seems to be legit. I don't know, let's take a look. So here it is. This is Sacagawea's grave in the middle with her two sons buried to the side. It says, died April 9th, 1884, a guide with the Lewis and Clark expedition from 1805 to 1806, identified 1907 by Reverend J. Roberts, who officiated at her burial. Then down here, it says, erected by the Wyoming State Organization of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. That's quite the mouthful. And over here, we have Basil, son of Sacagawea. And this one is interesting to me, dedicated in the memory of Baptiste Charbonneau, papoose of the Lewis and Clark expedition, son of Sacagawea, born February 11th, 1805, died on this reservation in 1885, buried west in the Wind River Mountains, AD 1933. I thought I had been to Jean-Baptiste Charbonneau's grave in Oregon. I don't know if that's the same person or not. Interesting stuff here. And it looks like back here we have another relative, Maggie Basil Large, granddaughter of Sacagawea, daughter of Basil. And here's a look at the rest of the cemetery. So it's about an hour later. I left the Wind River Reservation, drove back down through Lander, and now I'm kind of skirting the southern end of the Wind River Mountains as I head back further to the west and to the southwest. I just crossed over the Continental Divide here at, I think it said 7,550 feet. This is the southern end of the Wind Rivers. Out here and I just crossed the pass, or the Continental Divide out here, and I stopped here to show you, I believe this. I think this is South Pass, which is a pass on the Continental Divide, and it's the pass that pioneers on the Mormon, California, and Oregon trails used to cross the Continental Divide. So this over here, I think, or it's somewhere over here, this is where the pioneers crossed so that they didn't have to cross the extremely rugged Wind River Mountains. There's a sign here talking about the pass and its history, and it's basically a who's who of Western U.S. exploration. The pass was discovered in 1812 by a small party of historians. It was rediscovered in 1824 by Jedediah Smith, who was a famous mountain man. William Sublette led a party over, and then Captain Benjamin Bonneville took the first wagons over the pass in 1832. And then it was Charles Fremont again. These are big names in the exploration of the American West, all of them. He publicized the route over South Pass as a result of his 1842 expedition. And this last paragraph here says, with the discovery of South Pass, the Great Western Migration began. Thousands of Mormons, future Oregonians, and Californians would use the trail in the following 20 years. So right now I'm at this kind of overlook area, but I want to go to the pass itself. So let's head back on the road and take some dirt roads over to the pass itself. Well, this rather bleak place is the South Pass. This is the place where the original Oregon, California, and Mormon trails crossed the Continental Divide. And even today, it is out in the middle of nowhere. I passed a sign earlier that said that these buttes to the south here are called Oregon Buttes because they basically marked the start of Oregon Territory, which was then Oregon, Idaho, and I guess parts of western Wyoming, because that's where we are now, in western Wyoming. Let's take a look at these markers over here. Old Oregon Trail, 1843 to 1857. And this one, Narcissa Prentice Whitman, Elizabeth Hart Spalding, first white women to cross this pass, July 4th, 1836. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that at least Narcissa Prentice Whitman was later murdered by Native Americans somewhere in Washington or Oregon, and I don't know about Elizabeth Hart Spalding, or maybe I'm getting them mixed up. But yeah, that's interesting. Didn't expect to see this here. The first reason I wanted to come here is that it's just a point of historical interest and significance. You know, this was a major corridor and a major, a major reason that the West was able to be explored by European settlers. And second, I have ancestors who passed through on these trails in the 1840s and 50s, and so it's a really neat feeling to be able to stand here where they stood, drive my car along where their wagons were. Yeah, I'm just very grateful for what they did, and this pass basically made that possible. But man, is this a bleak place. This is not a spot you would want to linger, especially 150 years ago. An hour and a half later of driving through the southwestern Wyoming desert has led us to this cliff along the side of the road here, and it's one of those places, there are several of these across the western US, where settlers and pioneers would inscribe their names in the rock. And this one is interesting because it has a famous early explorer and mountain man. His inscription is here. So this place is called Names Hill, and it's notable for this guy's inscription, Jim Bridger. He's one of the most famous, maybe even the most famous, early American mountain man and explorer. His engraving is right there. It says James Bridger, 1844, Trapper. Now apparently there is some controversy here because Jim Bridger was illiterate, he couldn't read or write, but people think that either he knew enough to write his name or that he had a traveling companion write his name for him. And the earliest pioneer inscriptions in Wyoming are here, dating back to 1822. And then, let me see over here. Let me read this again. Yeah, these inscriptions date back to 1822, making them the oldest pioneer inscriptions in Wyoming. J.J. Shea, 1825, and Twig, 1832, are some of the early ones listed here. But yeah, it just keeps going and going along the cliff here. There might be thousands of names. I mean, they go from basically here all the way across back over here, and maybe even farther to that other section of cliff. I don't know, I haven't been over there yet. But yeah, lots and lots of names here. This area is on the Green River. This was a popular crossing area along the river, and it was basically a variation to the Oregon Trail, but obviously it was used also before the Oregon Trail got popular because, as the sign said, there are markings from the 1820s and 30s, which is before the Oregon Trail became a thing. Need to go run some errands, need to get gas and some food, and then we were going to drive up into the mountains into Utah. Well, it's 6:30. I finally found a campsite after quite a bit of searching. I'm in the Uinta Mountains of northern Utah. So here's the main dirt road out here, and then it comes up, and it kind of ends right here, and right here where I'm parked. Just a little dead-end T road. People have obviously camped here before. There's a fire ring right there. You can see some views out toward Wyoming. This'll do for the night. Nothing fancy, but it'll do. I'll fly the drone now so you guys can see the mountains. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna have some dinner and then kind of organize my stuff. I still haven't unpacked my backpack from the week-long backpacking trip in the Wind Rivers. The backpack is just sitting in the front passenger seat, and I just need to organize stuff for the next hour or so. So that's what I'll be doing. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite part was, and I'll see you in the next adventure. We're gonna have a really fun one for you guys. See you then. Be sure to check out Adventure Know-How, my new site, where you can gain access to a map of all of my free campsites, plus monthly bonus videos that you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at adventureknowhow.com. And for links to everything else SUV RVing related, visit suvrving.com. Links to these sites and more will be in the video description.